You've been told homeownership in Canada is dead unless you inherit a house or marry someone rich. Prices keep soaring while your paycheck doesn't. Bidding wars go 50 grand over asking, and renting feels like a lifetime sentence with yearly hikes. Starter homes cost $600K and need $100K in fixes. Politicians pretend to care, and agents call closets condos. But here's the part nobody tells you. There are real Canadian towns where you can still buy an actual livable home for under $150,000. Before we dive into these towns where housing prices haven't completely abandoned reality, smash that like button like you're making an offer with no conditions, and hit subscribe so you don't miss more housing opportunities. 1. Kapuskasing, Ontario, Northern Ontario's homeownership. Haven-Kapuskasing sits in northeastern Ontario with about 8,000 people and housing prices so low that Southern Ontario residents assume there's been a mistake or the town is actively on fire. You can buy a 3-bedroom detached house with garage and yard for $100,000 to $130,000 according to current MLS listings, which is less than what urban Canadians pay for used cars or particularly aggressive bidding wars over parking spots. These aren't teardowns. These are actual homes built solidly because Northern Ontario construction accounts for winters that hit -40 and last from October to April. We're talking houses with finished basements, decent kitchens, multiple bathrooms, and square footage that makes Toronto condo dwellers weep with envy or rage depending on their emotional relationship with housing costs. Kapuskasing has Sensenbrenner Hospital providing emergency services, diagnostic capabilities, and medical programs. There are family doctors accepting patients, which in Ontario's healthcare crisis is basically miraculous. The town has schools, grocery stores, pharmacies, and all services needed for comfortable living. It's not remote wilderness, but an established community with infrastructure that functions. The economy historically centered on forestry and paper production, with some residents working in mining or government services. Employment opportunities are limited compared to cities, but remote work makes Kapuskasing viable for people whose jobs exist in laptops rather than physical locations. If you can work remotely and earn even modest income, buying a house here for $120,000 changes your entire financial trajectory. Property taxes run around $2,000 annually on a $120,000 home, which is what some Toronto condo owners pay monthly in maintenance fees alone. Utilities are higher in winter due to heating costs when temperatures drop to levels that make you question whether humans should inhabit this latitude, but mortgage payments so low they feel fictional offset those costs dramatically. Winter in Kapuskasing is serious, long, and character-building. We're talking 6 months of legitimate cold, snow that requires actual removal efforts, and darkness that tests your relationship with vitamin D and seasonal sanity. But summer is beautiful with long daylight hours, warmth that feels earned, and outdoor activities that don't require expensive memberships or fighting crowds for park access. The community is bilingual French and English, working class, and unpretentious. People are friendly and helpful because northern isolation creates cooperation by necessity. Social life revolves around hockey, community events, and activities that build connection without requiring spending money you're saving by not paying insane housing costs. 2. Slave Lake, Alberta, Northern Alberta affordability. Slave Lake sits in northern Alberta with about 6,800 people and a history of rebuilding after a devastating 2011 wildfire, which means much of the housing stock is newer construction, built to modern standards. Selling for prices that defy southern Alberta's market insanity, houses regularly list for $100,000 to $140,000. Actual houses with multiple bedrooms, garages, and yards where kids or dogs can exist outside. The town has Slave Lake Healthcare Center providing emergency services and basic healthcare. There are family doctors, though availability varies with northern recruitment challenges, pharmacies, and dental services. For specialist care, Edmonton is about 250 kilometers south. Manageable for planned appointments, though inconvenient for emergencies. Slave Lake has full services including multiple grocery stores, retail shops, restaurants, and amenities needed for daily living. The town sits on Lesser Slave Lake, one of Alberta's largest lakes, providing fishing, boating, and water recreation. There are trails, parks, and outdoor access that makes the remote location appealing to people who define quality of life through nature instead of proximity to Starbucks. The economy relies on forestry, oil and gas when prices cooperate, and services supporting those industries. Employment fluctuates with resource sector volatility, but for remote workers or people with transferable skills, The town offers stability. The cost of living beyond housing is reasonable, with groceries and services priced competitively for northern Alberta. Property taxes on a $120,000 home run, around $1,800 annually, manageable on modest income. Utilities are higher in winter when temperatures drop significantly, but mortgage payments of $600 to $800 monthly with 20% down create financial breathing room impossible in expensive markets. Winter is northern Alberta. Winter, cold, dark, long, and demanding respect for weather. Summer brings warmth, endless daylight, and lake activities. The community rebuilt after the fire with resilience and determination, creating tight-knit bonds among residents who survived trauma together. 3. Flin Flon, Manitoba, border town with sub-150K homes. Flin Flon sits on the Manitoba-Saskatchewan border with about 5,000 people and a mining history that created a town in unlikely locations surrounded by Canadian Shield wilderness. Houses regularly sell for $80,000 to $130,000. Prices so low that Winnipeg residents assume the listings are missing zeros or somehow fraudulent. These are real houses, not shacks. 3-bedroom homes with basements, garages, and yards. Properties that accommodate families, not just desperate singles willing to tolerate anything for homeownership. The housing stock includes older homes from mining boom days and some newer construction, all priced at levels that make financial sense for working-class income. Flin Flon has a hospital providing emergency services and basic health care. There are family doctors, pharmacies, and dental services. For specialist care, the PAS is an hour away or Winnipeg 5 hours south, requiring planning but manageable for non-emergency medical needs. The town has essential services, grocery stores, retail shops, restaurants, and businesses covering daily needs. It's built on rock with streets that wind through terrain instead of following grid patterns, creating unique geography for a small town. Lesser Slave Lake provides recreation, and surrounding wilderness offers fishing, hunting, and outdoor activities. The economy historically depended on mining, with Hudbay operating copper and zinc operations. Employment opportunities are limited outside resource extraction, making Flin Flon better suited for remote workers, retirees, or people with jobs in mining or supporting industries. Property taxes on a $100,000 home run, around $1,500 annually, among the lowest in Canada. Utilities are reasonable, with Manitoba Hydro providing affordable electricity. The cost of living beyond housing is moderate, with groceries slightly higher due to transportation but not prohibitively expensive. Winter in Flin Flon is northern Manitoba winter, cold, long, snowy, and testing. Summer is brief but beautiful, with outdoor activities and that northern sense of making the most of warmth while it lasts. The community is working class, diverse, and resilient, with people who chose difficult geography because of employment or stayed because they built lives there. 4. Minto, New Brunswick, maritime affordability intact. Minto sits in central New Brunswick with about 2,500 people and housing prices that seem like time travel to when homeownership was accessible to normal humans earning normal wages. Houses regularly list for $90,000 to $140,000. Actual detached homes with multiple bedrooms and yards, not condos or apartments, but real houses. The town historically depended on coal mining, which created the community and then declined, leaving behind affordable housing and people who stayed because they built lives there. The housing stock is older but solid maritime construction built when houses were meant to last generations instead of being flipped for profit every 5 years. Minto has a medical clinic with family doctors and basic healthcare services. For hospital care, Fredericton is about 45 minutes away with full emergency services, specialists, and comprehensive medical facilities. The distance requires planning but is manageable, especially when housing costs $120,000 instead of $600,000, leaving money for transportation and healthcare travel. The town has essential services including a grocery store, gas station, and small businesses covering daily needs. For major shopping and services, Fredericton provides everything needed within reasonable driving distance. The area features lakes, forests, and outdoor recreation typical of New Brunswick's interior. Employment opportunities are limited locally, making Minto better suited for remote workers, retirees, or people willing to commute to Fredericton for work. The trade-off of 45-minute commute for $120,000 home ownership makes financial sense compared to paying $600,000 to live in Fredericton or Halifax. Property taxes on a $120,000 home run, around $1,800 annually, manageable on modest income. Utilities average $150 to $200 monthly, including heat, which matters during damp maritime winters that feel colder than temperature suggests. Groceries and cost of living are reasonable for New Brunswick. Winter is maritime winter, damp, gray, occasionally snowy, rarely extremely cold but miserable through humidity and wind. Summer is beautiful with moderate temperatures and greenery everywhere. The community is small and working class with people who value affordability and quiet over urban amenities and constant activity. Before we continue with more towns where your down payment actually buys an entire house instead of just covering realtor fees and land transfer taxes, hit that subscribe button like you're claiming affordable home ownership, and drop a comment with your city's average home price so we can all share in the collective horror or celebrate if you've already escaped somewhere reasonable. 5. Dalmeny, Saskatchewan, near Saskatoon, without Saskatoon. Prices: Dalmeny sits just outside Saskatoon with about 2,500 people, close enough to the city for employment and services but far enough that housing remains affordable. Houses list for $100,000 to $145,000, prices that seem impossible given proximity to Saskatchewan's second largest city. These are starter homes and smaller properties, but actual houses nonetheless. 2 to 3 bedroom homes with yards, some with garages, properties suitable for young families, singles, or retirees who don't need McMansions but want home ownership and space to exist. Dalmeny has basic services with Saskatoon 15 minutes away, providing hospitals, specialists, shopping, and everything a city offers. You get small town living with immediate access to urban amenities, which is rare at this price point. Healthcare access is excellent given proximity to Saskatoon's medical facilities. The town has a school, small businesses, and essential services, with most residents commuting to Saskatoon for employment. The location makes Dalmeny viable for anyone working in the city but wanting affordable home ownership and smaller community living. Property taxes on a $125,000 home run, around $2,000 annually, typical for Saskatchewan. Utilities are reasonable with Sask Power and Sask Energy providing stable rates. The cost of living is moderate with easy access to Saskatoon's competitive grocery and retail markets. Winter is prairie winter with cold wind and snow that demands proper clothing and vehicle preparation. Summer is warm and pleasant with prairie skies and that sense of space that either calms you or makes you anxious. The community is small but functional with residents who chose affordability and proximity over living in Saskatoon proper and paying double or triple for housing. 6. Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia, BC housing. Under 150 CE exists. Tumbler Ridge sits in northeastern British Columbia with about 2,500 people and something previously thought impossible: BC housing under $150,000. Houses list for $100,000 to $145,000. Actual detached homes with yards in a province where average prices exceed $700,000 and Vancouver prices cause existential despair. The town sits in beautiful mountain landscape with access to outdoor recreation that rivals expensive BC destinations. There are waterfalls, hiking trails, dinosaur fossils that make the area archaeologically significant, and wilderness that appeals to people who define quality of life through nature access rather than urban amenities. Tumbler Ridge has a medical clinic with family doctors and basic health care. For hospital services, Fort St. John is about 90 minutes away, or Dawson Creek slightly closer. The distance requires planning for medical needs, but the cost savings from affordable housing allow you to manage transportation expenses impossible when paying Vancouver or Victoria rents. The town has essential services including a grocery store, gas station, schools, and businesses covering basic needs. The economy depends on coal mining and forestry, with employment opportunities limited outside those industries. Remote work makes Tumbler Ridge viable for people whose jobs don't require physical presence in expensive cities. Property taxes on a $125,000 home run, around $1,200 annually. Reasonable for BC, where property taxes in expensive markets can hit $6,000 or $8,000. Utilities are moderate with BC hydro rates and heating costs manageable in newer construction built to handle northern winters. Winter in Tumbler Ridge is serious with cold temperatures, significant snow, and darkness that tests your relationship with winter sports versus hibernation. Summer is spectacular with midnight sun, warmth, and outdoor activities that don't require expensive passes or fighting crowds. The community is small and tight-knit with people who chose this location for affordability, nature access, or employment. 7. Weyburn, Saskatchewan, Southeast Saskatchewan, stability. Weyburn sits in southeast Saskatchewan with about 11,000 people and housing market sanity rarely seen in Canada anymore. Houses regularly list for $100,000 to $145,000, solid family homes with multiple bedrooms, garages, and yards where kids can play outside without supervision anxiety, because small-town Saskatchewan still functions that way. The town has Weyburn General Hospital providing emergency services, diagnostic capabilities, and medical programs. There are family doctors accepting patients, specialists who visit regularly, and healthcare infrastructure solid for a town this size. Medical access is better than many small Canadian towns, while housing remains affordable. Weyburn has full services including multiple grocery stores, retail shops, restaurants, and amenities needed for comfortable living. The town maintains recreation facilities including pools, arenas, curling rinks because Saskatchewan takes curling seriously, and community centers. There are programs, activities, and social opportunities throughout the year. The economy is diversified for a town this size with agriculture, oil and gas when prices cooperate, healthcare, education, and retail employment. The town serves as regional hub providing stability other small towns lack. Employment opportunities exist locally, and remote work makes Weyburn viable for people whose jobs exist digitally. Property taxes on a $125,000 home run, around $2,000 annually, typical for Saskatchewan. Utilities are reasonable with Sask Energy and Sask Power providing stable rates that don't fluctuate wildly or destroy budgets. Cost of living beyond housing is moderate with competitive grocery and service pricing. Hit that like button like you're finally affording home ownership without generational wealth or criminal activity. And subscribe because more Canadians need to know that houses under $150,000 still exist in real towns with actual services, not just remote wilderness accessible only by snowmobile and prayer. Winter is prairie winter with temperatures hitting -30, wind that cuts through inadequate clothing, and snow that requires regular removal. Summer is warm and pleasant with festivals, outdoor activities, and prairie beauty that doesn't photograph well but feels profound in person. The community is working class, diverse, and stable with people who chose affordability and prairie living over urban chaos and housing costs that require selling organs. 8. Grand Falls-Windsor, Newfoundland, Central Newfoundland access. Grand Falls-Windsor sits in central Newfoundland with about 14,000 people and Atlantic Canadian housing affordability that Southern Ontario residents assume is fictional. Houses list for $100,000 to $150,000, real detached homes with yards, multiple bedrooms, and that Newfoundland construction that handles brutal Atlantic weather. The town has Central Newfoundland Regional Health Centre providing emergency services, medical programs, and healthcare access solid for the region. There are family doctors, though availability varies, specialists who visit, and medical infrastructure serving Central Newfoundland adequately. Grand Falls-Windsor has full services including grocery stores, retail operations, restaurants, and amenities needed for daily living. The town serves as regional hub for Central Newfoundland, providing employment in healthcare, education, retail, and services. The economy historically depended on pulp and paper, with diversification into other industries as that sector declined. The location provides access to Newfoundland's interior with rivers, forests, and outdoor recreation. Gander is 40 minutes away for airport access, and St. John's is about 3 hours when you need big city services or specialists. The distance is manageable for occasional trips while living somewhere affordable. Property taxes on a $125,000 home run, around $1,500 annually, among the lowest property taxes in Atlantic Canada. Utilities average $175 to $225 monthly, including heat, which matters during Newfoundland's damp winters that feel colder than temperature indicates. Cost of living is moderate for Newfoundland, with groceries slightly higher than mainland due to transportation but manageable. The town has competitive retail providing variety and reasonable pricing. Employment opportunities exist locally, and remote work makes Grand Falls-Windsor viable for people seeking Atlantic Canadian lifestyle and affordable home ownership. Winter is Newfoundland winter. Wet, windy, occasionally extremely snowy, rarely frigidly cold but miserable through dampness and wind that cuts through clothing. Summer is beautiful with moderate temperatures, greenery everywhere, and that Atlantic Canadian sense of being on an island that feels different from mainland living. 9. Liverpool, Nova Scotia, South Shore maritime living. Liverpool sits on Nova Scotia's south shore with about 2,800 people and housing prices that make Halifax's market look even more absurd. Houses list for $120,000 to $150,000, older homes with character, properties near the ocean, actual detached housing in a province where affordable home ownership is increasingly rare. The town has Queen's General Hospital providing emergency services and basic healthcare. There are family doctors, though availability requires luck and persistence, pharmacies, and dental services. For specialist care, Halifax is about 90 minutes away, manageable for planned appointments, though inconvenient for emergencies. Liverpool has essential services including grocery stores, gas station, restaurants, and businesses covering daily needs. The location on the Atlantic Ocean provides beauty, recreation, and that maritime connection to water that defines the region. There are beaches, trails, and outdoor access without expensive fees or memberships. The economy includes fishing, forestry, tourism, and services. Employment opportunities are limited compared to Halifax, but the cost savings from affordable housing allow lower income to support comfortable living. Remote work makes Liverpool viable for people seeking maritime lifestyle, without Halifax housing costs that require tech salaries or family money. Property taxes on a $135,000 home run, around $1,800 annually, reasonable for Nova Scotia. Utilities average $150 to $200 monthly, manageable with moderate maritime climate that rarely hits extreme temperatures either direction. Cost of living is moderate for Nova Scotia, with groceries typical for Atlantic Canada, slightly higher than mainland due to transportation but not prohibitively expensive. The town has adequate retail and services for daily needs, with Halifax accessible for major shopping or specialized services when needed. Winter is maritime winter, damp, gray, windy, occasionally snowy, but rarely extremely cold. Summer is beautiful with moderate temperatures, ocean breezes, and that Atlantic Canadian pace that either calms you or frustrates you depending on your relationship with efficiency and urgency. 10. Asbestos, Quebec. Yes, really. That's the name. Asbestos sits in southern Quebec with about 7,000 people, and a name that's either unfortunate or brilliant marketing depending on your sense of humor, about carcinogenic building materials. The town recently voted to change its name to Val-des-Sources, but real estate listings still show both, and houses sell for $100,000 to $140,000 regardless of nomenclature. These are real houses in established neighborhoods with services and infrastructure, 3-bedroom homes with yards, properties suitable for families or individuals seeking home ownership without requiring engineering salaries or generational wealth. The housing stock is older but solid Quebec construction built when homes were meant to last. The town has a hospital providing emergency services and healthcare programs. There are family doctors, though availability varies with Quebec's healthcare challenges, pharmacies, and medical services. For specialist care, Sherbrooke is 45 minutes away with larger medical facilities and comprehensive healthcare access. Asbestos has essential services including grocery stores, pharmacies, schools, and businesses covering daily needs. The town sits in southern Quebec's Eastern Townships region with access to outdoor recreation, skiing, and natural beauty. Montreal is about 90 minutes away for urban amenities, employment, or services not available locally. The economy historically depended on asbestos mining, which created the town and gave it the unfortunate name, with diversification into manufacturing and services as mining declined. Employment opportunities are limited locally, but proximity to Sherbrooke and Montreal makes commuting viable for those willing to trade drive time for affordable home ownership. Property taxes on a $125,000 home run, around $1,500 annually, typical for Quebec, where property taxes are generally lower than Ontario. Utilities average $150 to $200 monthly, including heating costs for Quebec winters that are serious but not Northern Ontario extreme. Cost of living is reasonable for Quebec, with groceries and services priced competitively. The town has adequate retail for daily needs, with Sherbrooke providing variety and shopping options. French language dominates daily life, which matters if you're Anglophone considering relocation to Quebec. Winter is Quebec winter with cold, snow, and darkness that demands proper clothing and winter activities to maintain sanity. Summer is beautiful with warmth, greenery, and outdoor activities throughout the eastern townships. The community is francophone and working class, with people who value affordability over urban living. So finally, if this video helped just a bit, tell me by subscribing to the channel and comment below what do you think about this.